Hey guys, welcome back. Chris and Randy here with WeBuyGuns.com, here with another unboxing video. Let's go ahead and dive into it.
First up, we have one from a customer in Pennsylvania. Let's see what's inside. A bunch of guns.
Guns. Kimber, SAR, HK,
Ooh,
Glock.
spoiler.
Well, they're all here. And Max. Let's do it. You start us off.
Okay.
I'm watching the door. Go.
Okay. Looks like first, Chris, we have a Glock 19X. So if you're familiar with the Glock 19X, it was the Glock that they submitted for the U.S. military trial. My opinion, should have won. It did not. 6-hour one.
Right, John?
Wow, wow.
We've been through this with John.
Yeah. So the Glock 19X, the superior weapon, it's one of my favorites. It essentially is a 19 slide with a 17 frame. For the military trial, they also put the 19 round bump out magazine rather than standard 17. Just an all-around great Glock, nice sights.
And condition, what are we thinking there?
Oddly enough, there's a little discoloration on the slide. I'm not sure.
Is that gunpowder residue or just the oil kind of soaked in?
I'm not sure.
I think it's gunpowder residue.
If it'll wipe off.
Yeah, with the oil, it'll be fine.
I would call it very good, Chris.
Let's see, is this the only Glock here? Yes. So
Yes.
Customer says excellent. Yeah, we could go with it.
Yeah.
So when there's some wear on the high edges of the metal sights and stuff like that too, it's definitely been used. There is some gunpowder residue discoloration, but nothing major, and I'm sure it'll all clean up okay. So that's totally fine. So we're good there. Next up, we have an HK VP9. Now HK used to come out with a lot of more higher end products like the P30s. What do I want to say? You got the P30 series, the HK45s, all the different polymer frame guns, which are a little bit pricier, really good quality. They've always been known as a more premium German manufacturing brand. I want to say it's been five to 7 years ago, somewhere in there, they came out with the VP9. The VP9 was meant to compete with the other polymer frame handguns that were dominating the market at the time, like the Glocks, the MMPs, and the XDs. And it did a really, really good job. A lot of people like this handgun. Lots of people own them. You have a ambidextrous paddle magazine release, ambidextrous rear and side plates, front sight serrations. They come with the luminescent sights. They're not really true night sights, but this one actually has replacement sights on it. You have a loaded chamber indicator, little cocking wings here in the rear of the slide. Just a good all-around handgun, and if you've never fired one, the recoil on impulse on these is incredibly gentle, very accurate shooter, so I'm a big fan of that. HK VP9, again, excellent handgun. What do you think about that one, Randy?
I really don't see a mark on this, Chris. I would call this excellent.
And that is what the customer said, and I can agree with that. It looks great, so we are good with that one. Next up we have, and that'll be good kind of segue, Sarcel Maz, the little SAR B, I believe it's the B, right? Model B6.
Yes.
Polymer frame, steel slide, takes heavy influences. So the Sarcel Maz, they have a variety of different pistols that they've come out with that closely mimic other pistols. They have, which is the one that's actually very heavily influenced by the VP9. What's that one? The
P30?
No, the SAR gun.
Oh,
You have one right down there somewhere. Just the 9. Sarcel Maz SAR 9. That one takes a lot of heavy cues off of the VP9, even the interchangeable side plates. This one takes a lot of heavy influence off of the CZ75. So you have the slide inside the frame, very low slide configuration, so very low muzzle flip. Very good recoil, but with these sort of Turkish manufactured clones of other firearms, one of the great benefits is they are super inexpensive. So decent quality firearms, they're functional, they work. I know I wouldn't say that this is in line with the CZ75 or the SAR 9 is in line with the VP9, but at like more than half the price, they are a good alternative. So pretty interesting handguns. What do you think about that?
Again, Chris, very clean. I would say excellent condition.
I'd agree with that, and looks hardly used at all. So we're good there. And then last up, the Kimber. This is a Kimber stainless lightweight. We actually see quite a few of these come through, and people put through Kimbers. It's the stainless lightweight we tend to see the most of. For a good quality alloy frame, 1911, nice stainless steel bead blasted slide. Not a bad option, especially for the money. They are price-wise in line with some of the other common manufacturers out there like Ruger or Springfield or the Remington R1 line. They're kind of fit right in that price point. Kimber used to have a much better name when they were more of a custom shop. Now everything's sort of assembly line manufactured like those other manufacturers I talked about, so they are priced accordingly in there in that line, although they do have higher priced offerings just like the other manufacturers do. But for what it is, they are a very attractive looking firearm. Nice front serrations, nice sights, nice wooden grips with the checkering, skeletonized hammer and trigger, extended beaver tail safety. Not a bad handgun for what you're paying. Just a good all-around lightweight, government size 1911. This one is chambered in 9mm, although of course you find them most commonly in 45 ACP. So what do you think about that one?
Few minor handling marks, a little bit of loss of finish on the grips, but I would still put it at very good, Chris.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think very good is fair, and that is what the customer said. So that'll start us off with this one. Let's move on to the next box. Next up, we have one from a customer in Minnesota. Thank you so much for selling this one to us.
Yeah, this is going south in a hurry. Well, we have a very interesting piece here, Chris. It's a bolt-action 12-gauge shotgun. J.C. Higgins, model 583, Sears and Roebuck Company. That was a thing we called a department store back in my day, Chris, where you could just walk in and you get a pair of blue jeans and a shirt and a shotgun while you were there.
I like the sound of that.
All of these were made by major manufacturers, Winchester, Mossberg. If I had to guess, this to me looks like a Mossberg shotgun. They had a pretty famous line of goose guns that they had that were bolt action shotguns. Sorry folks, somebody came in the store. What I was saying about this is bolt action 12-gauge shotgun, J.C. Higgins model 583, made for the Sears and Roebuck Company. Department store guns, that's an era that's gone, that is never going back, Chris. So these are, while not extremely valuable firearms, they have become quite collectible.
And they have a lot of nostalgia behind them. I mean, a lot of guys who grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, that was sort of before my time, but you know, we get a lot of customers that grew up in that era. They always pull these things off the shelf. They look at them with a lot of fondness. You know, a lot of the older guys today grew up with these as kids, you know, taking them out on the farm, hunting and whatnot. Also, we sort of have like AR-15 receivers today. You have 3 or 4 forging companies that make the blanks, and then different companies take them and put their own manufacturing markings on them and sell them as sort of their own sort of package. You had a similar concept with these department store guns where different companies would make 22s and 20 gauges and 12 gauges, and then the different department stores would have their own brands and stamp their own branding on them. So you would see the same gun made with different brands and roll marks distributed by different people. So pretty cool. What do you think about the condition there?
A lot of corrosion on the barrel, Chris. I would say that would bring it down to fair condition.
How y'all doing? Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely some isolated pitting and some corrosion up here on the barrel as well. The stock is actually in really good condition, a couple scratches and whatnot, but otherwise pretty good shape there. But that I think would probably bring it down to high end of fair, low end of good. What do the customers say on it?
Customers say good, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. We'll go with it. But yeah, nice board too. So anyway, really nice classic shotgun. Happy to get that one in and share it with you guys. All right, next up we have one from a customer in Illinois. Interesting. Very well packed firearms. Springfield. A Smith & Wesson. A Ruger. And a Sig. All right. Well, let's just grab one off the top. Ruger. Looks like we have a GP100 stainless. This is a 357. The GP100 is one of the flagship full-size revolvers from the Ruger line. Cast frame, very beefy, stout, heavy, which actually lends itself to really gentle recoil, especially on a 38 plus P or just a general 38 special, and a manageable recoil on 357. We have had a ton of these in here. People definitely really like them. They're good competitors to things like the Smith & Wesson 686. This would ultimately, the GP100 would be what would replace the 6 series, like the Security 6, the Speed 6, that whole stuff. But very cool revolvers. Not much else really to say about it. We've unboxed several of these here on the channel before. What do you think about the condition there?
Chris, I would say this is in excellent condition.
That is what the customer said, and I definitely agree with that. So we are good there. Let's move on to the next one. Go ahead and pick your poison.
Let's take one right off the top. This is the Smith & Wesson Equalizer.
That's a very new one to the market. Still has the hang tags on it, so don't know if he even used it. It's almost like a, Shield EZ that's been scaled down to like a 1.5 stack. So taking the Shield Plus and fitting it into the Shield EZ type of configuration. So you have the EZ characteristics like the grip safety. Very nice, easy slide to use. This is a 9mm manual safety. Comes equipped with optics ready plate here in the back. And just a smaller scaled down package. 15 round capacity here in this magazine. This magazine's probably a 12, it's a 10. So this is extended, this is a flush fit. Do not know much about the Equalizer. I've heard about them, have not handled one before because these are very, very new to the market. So pretty cool. What do you think about the condition of that one? It probably goes without saying.
It goes without saying, Chris. This one is excellent.
I would agree. Looks brand new, looks unused, so very cool there. Let's see that guy. Oh, there's 3 mags. Okay. All right, next up there, we have a Sig. There we go.
That's why we can't have nice things around here.
Sig P365, it's just called the Macro or the Micro. Again, new firearm to the market. Don't remember what they call this. It's probably written on there. Macro?
If it's
You said Macro?
Macro.
Yeah, so it's a Macro comp. What you effectively have here, if I'm not mistaken, is this the P365 XL frame? No, that's the X that I'm talking about. So what is the Macro?
It isn't.
X.
It's an XL.
It's an XL frame with a standard link slide. Okay, so it's an XL frame with a standard link slide, and it is ported. This one chambered, of course, in 9mm. That would leave it to actually 17 round capacity. But you're getting almost into the size of like something like a Glock 19. Obviously, a little bit smaller. Also very new to the market, so I've not handled one of these before. Maybe we've had one in on transfer or two. A very cool firearm. What do you think about the condition there?
Chris, this one also, I would say, excellent condition.
Yeah, again, looks like it hasn't even really been used, but again, they haven't been out long enough to really have seen a lot of use. So I agree with that there, and that is what the customer said. And last up here, we have a Hellcat probably.
Hellcat.
Is that the Pro model?
Yes, Hellcat Pro.
So the Hellcat Pro has been out for probably close to a year. I took the original Hellcat with the longer frame, longer slide. It has all the other features that you would find on the Hellcat. So this is kind of to come out as a competitor to the XL version from the P365. The Hellcat itself would come out to the market about 6 to 8 months after the P365 from Sig. Sig were the ones that really pioneered the 1.5 stack, ultra high capacity micro carry sort of thing. So they came out with the P365, Springfield with the Hellcat, Glock with the 43X, so on and so forth. So the Pro is yet another offering from the Hellcat line. We've had a couple of them in here before. What do you think about the condition there?
And once again, Chris, I will have to say excellent condition.
And that is what the customer says. So we are good on all those awesome sort of new release firearms that have been pre-owned. So very cool. We will move on to the next one. All right, and last up we have one from a customer in Florida. Thank you so much for selling this one to us. Guns, shipping socks, a single 6, nice, it's an old 3-screw.
Yeah, so the Ruger single 6 in 22 LR, and it also would have the 22 Magnum or WMR cylinder. These things are fun to shoot. Love these. They're fun at the range, extremely accurate, extremely reliable. I mean, they're built to be around for 100 years. I mean, they're awesome.
The single 6 line ultimately was one of those that came out as a result to the interest in the sort of Western genre media that had started really at about the 1950s. So they had come out with the Black Hawk series based on the single action, and then the smaller frame scaled down, about 25% smaller frame from the standard full-size Colt single action Army to the 22 LR. Very, very popular pistol for range plinking. I know they had the Bearcat sort of kit gun as well. That was even smaller yet than the single 6. But with the conversion cylinders are really cool. This is an older 3-screw design, a little bit more desirable by collectors. It's a really, really cool firearm. What do you think about the condition of that one?
It has a few little scratches on the frame from being handled over the years, Chris. But honestly, you cannot see them out at arm's length away. I would put it with the scratches, very high end, very good.
Yeah, keeping in mind of about the era of when this was manufactured, I don't recall exactly when they went from the 3-screw to the 2-screw.
1973.
1973. Thank you, John. That's why John's here. 1973. They went to the 2-screw designs. This is a pre-1973. Given that and its age, this is actually in really good condition. If it were a brand new single 6 or a brand new firearm, I'd probably say, based on what I'm looking at, I would say probably very good. But given its age and time frame, again, I'd be at the high end of very good. I would even be okay with excellent. So for what it is, it's a really, really nice looking firearm. Customer did say excellent, and I think that's totally fair for what this is. So very cool firearm. Let's move on to the last one. Okay, yeah, I remember this one. This is, get it out of this little holster here. This is a Webley. Is this a Webley or an Enfield? Actually, I think this is an Enfield. Number 2, this would be the Mark I Star, being that it is spurless. In World War I, Great Britain, of course, they had always used the revolver. In World War I, they were using the Webley. I think it was the Mark VI, which was .455 caliber. So it's a heavier caliber. During the interwar period, we're moving from the number 1 Mark III to the number 4 Mark I. There's a lot of armament revisions happening in Great Britain. They wanted to move down to a .38 caliber projectile with less recoil. Okay, so easier to use for general infantry that these are being issued to. Webley and Scott, which was actually a commercial arms manufacturer in Great Britain at the time, around 1930, had come up with the Mark IV, which was essentially this firearm. They had much nicer finish on it. Later they had to sort of scale back on their finish because those were folded into British military service, and they would put war finish on it to not confuse the buyers of the classic Webley revolvers of the poor finish that was on it. Now the Enfield Arsenal, or Birmingham's, Enfield, Great Britain, instead of licensing with Webley and Scott to manufacture the revolver for the war effort, they went ahead and just stole the design, changing a couple of the internal components to get away from any type of litigation from Webley, and started producing it on their own without paying any royalties to Webley. Now this one is a spurless hammer. The number 1 Mark II did have a spurred hammer. And this would be the #1 Mark II Star. And then the #1 Mark II Double Star would be a simplified version for military production, which would happen around 1942. These would stay in manufacture and use through the 1950s and stay in service through even about the 1960s when they would start to really be phased out. So really cool firearm. You have a release lever here, automatic ejector, and that's really all there is. So because this is spurless, again, used for tank crews and people in confined spaces, this is a double action only revolver, but it has a pretty nice trigger pull. So anyway, cool firearm. What do you think about the condition there?
Obviously finish loss, but being surplus and taking into consideration the age, and it probably saw service, I would say surplus good.
Yeah, yeah, I would probably actually agree with that. There is some finish loss on here. Doesn't seem to be any type of corrosion. Bore looks actually very good. Yeah, I would probably go with good as well. I did just look, and the customer rated this as fair, which is fine. I mean, there is a lot of finish wear, which is probably where they came up with that. So yeah, we are pretty much in the same ballpark. So anyway, that'll end that up. Really interesting couple pieces here from Florida. So big thank you to our customer there, and we will end you off with that one today. I am Chris.
And I'm Randy.
And we will see you next time.
Live from Westfield, it's Marksman Shooting Sports and WeBuyGuns.com. I don't know why I did that.
I liked it actually.
Next up, we have one from a customer in Little Rock. Where's this from again?
Missouri.
Yeah. No, it's not.
No, it's not?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, it's the same thing.
You just get over that way, it all runs together.